Hi, I'm Helen, and I would like to welcome you to a new episode of 5 Curly Career Questions, a videocast for professionals at a career junction. So today I'm delighted to be joined by Andy Rogers. Andy, hi, it is great to see you again.
Lovely to see you.
Thank you. So, prior to running your own business and your work as a leadership coach, facilitator, and consultant, you were a senior leader within the services sector where you held senior roles across a number of areas from operational departments to HR. So, you've got widespread experience in that space. And you also now host your own podcast, which is Unlocking Aliveness in Leadership. Did I forget anything?
No, that's perfect.
Excellent. Well, welcome. And are you ready for this? Let's do it.
Let's go for it.
Okay. So, your first question. Tell me about a time when you experienced a career transition or a time when you felt stuck.
Yeah, I could say lots of my life was like this, but about 20 years ago, I was doing a job which, when you look at it, would have been fantastic. Like, oh, aren't you very successful, Andy? I was operations director of a large catering company, a really good job. I was traveling, I was spending a lot of time away. Driving a BMW, all good.
On paper,
Ticks
perfect.
ticks
Yeah.
all the boxes, apart from the fact I wasn't very happy. I could do the job and I quite enjoyed bits of it, but it wasn't really me. So I went on a big journey of discovery where I did a degree in psychology because I hadn't got a degree and I felt I needed that. And then I did a load of different weekend courses in coaching and various other things, lots of random things that I didn't quite know where I was going. And I got to a point where this was about 7 years later, I got to a point where I just had enough. Like I said to the HR director, who I didn't know very well, this is in the main board, I need a different career. And there's a guy over there in your office called Scott Jarvis, who's the organizational development and change director. That's the job I'd like because I got some background in training many years ago.
Yeah.
And she sort of laughed and said, well, maybe we could give you some projects working for Scott just while you do your day job. And I went away and thought, oh, okay. And then 2 weeks later, she texted me on a Friday, which was very unheard of. I didn't even know she had my number, and said, can I speak to you at 1 o'clock on Saturday morning? And I went, okay. And I thought, oh my goodness, what have I done? And she texted me and she said, Scott Jarvis resigned yesterday. Do you still want that job? So I was able to make the transition. I didn't like the story really is I didn't know why I was doing all these courses, but it got me to a place where I was able to have the conversation and then be able to take a job, which was a brilliant transition back into a world which is HR, which is where I am now, coaching and development, etc.
I just love that story. That's great. Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Okay. Question 2. You kind of touched on this a little bit. As we go through our careers, as we grow up, things that were important to us at the start are no longer important to us. So, or as important. So, in what one way have your priorities changed, do you think?
It's so interesting. I think over time you think things are really important. So position, promotion, status, all of those things. So jobs, yes, that previous story is the same story really. Jobs are really important. I need to be at this level. I need to be seen at this level. I need to have this kind of house. I need to live in this kind of way. Things that you think are really important and will make you happy don't make you happy. So you learn that. Even to the point I did a degree, and I did a degree in psychology because I didn't have a degree. I did an HND when I was working for a company called GC many years ago. And I always thought, oh, if I got a degree, then I would be at that level. And I did the degree, and to be honest, I did Open University. Took 6 years, blimmin' hard, and it was worth doing. But now I look back on it, and yes, it gave me opportunities to further my learning, but I don't think it made a difference to who I am. So it's amazing how you can do these things or think these things, and actually, when the part of the discovery is who you really are and being happy with that.
Yeah. Yeah. Striving for things is all very well, but actually, when you know who you are, what you really want, that's
Yeah,
what matters.
exactly, exactly.
So, question 3. What are a couple of key resources or pieces of advice that you've had along the way?
Well, a few things I'd say. I've always see some books behind me. I've always been I've always been interested in learning, and I've always been really interested in what makes people tick. So I've loved reading autobiographies. I love self-help books. I love anything that gives some new thinking and ideas. So I've always been that kind of person. Sometimes read novels, but as a treat. Most of my reading is about people. I love listening to podcasts. So I think the advice would be to always be curious and always be learning. Always be curious about what it is that makes you tick, and always be learning something. And when I was in that transition period I talked about earlier, I never really knew. I went on weekend courses, and after time I was tired on a Friday, and I think, why am I doing this? But it was helping me learn about what made me feel good about myself. And so always be learning, part of the answer. And then the other things are, there's a great book called Atomic Habits by James Clear. And I think when you're into the realizing it's the habitual way of working that you've got, you can be in a habit. So the way that you learn about habits, that would be a book I give to all of my coaching clients. And if I can have one more, the other book is 4,000 Weeks by Oliver Burkeman.
Okay.
The average human life is 4,000 weeks. So you're suddenly calculating, aren't you? You're suddenly going, oh,
I'm like,
okay, let me work this out.
yeah.
So yeah, the average human life is 4,000 weeks. It's a brilliant book about how we prioritize things and what's important to us.
Thank you. I will look that one up. I do have James Clear, but yeah, I'll look that one up. Thank you. Okay, question 4. So you probably don't know this, but if you've watched these, you'll know I hate, loathe, and detest coriander. So if you translate that sense of hate, loathing, detesting, or really disliking something intensely into a professional setting, what would be your coriander equivalent?
Well, I've got to say, I really love coriander.
Oh,
I'm one of these people.
God. I think every single one of my interviewees has been one of those people. But anyway,
Yeah.
leave it.
The thing I most detest is hierarchy. You need hierarchy in lots of organizations, but when people use it as power over, I really detest that. I detest, or I used to detest, you don't see it very often, the director's parking lot, which is by the entrance. You see it at golf clubs still, but whether it's a captain's park, but I get that really, but the in an organization, why would anybody be better than anybody else? Why should anybody get a parking spot? I remember when I was working in the defence sector, I just go and visit people that were working for us in various areas, and you'd have the teams meet me, and they'd be all staying in the Premier Travelling, and the secretary, so she only did it once, put me in this really nice hotel somewhere different in the same town, and I said no, 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 that's definitely not me. If we're all in the Premier Travelling, we're all in the Premier Travelling.
Yeah.
I do not want to differentiate, and I hate that differential that people have, and it's an ego thing. And aren't I great? But I really detest it because I think we need all people at all levels to do a job in an organisation, and no one's better than somebody else. So that's my coriander moment.
Okay. Thank you very much for that.
Mm.
So I lived in New Zealand for many years, and in Māori culture there is a koha, which is a concept of a gift. Well, it is a gift, and so using that concept loosely, what koha or gift would you give to somebody right now going through a career transition, or maybe stuck at a bit of a junction, not sure where to go?
Mm. Well, I'm an integral development coach and a somatic coach, so I get informed by the wisdom of my body, and I like to work with clients like that. And some of the questions you can be in an inquiry about. So the gift would be questions, and in an integral way, the 3 big integral questions for me that I work with clients on is who am I, who are others, and what am I to do? And the 4th question, which is from my podcast, is what brings me alive? And I think that would be the gift. Those 4 questions. What happens when I ask those questions to myself? When I go for a walk, when I'm on holiday, when I'm super stressed, how do I answer those questions? Who am I? Who are others? What am I to do? And what brings me alive? And through sensing into how I feel, how I think, how I act, we might get some answers. So they'll be the gifts.
Really interesting gifts. I like that. Thank you. Okay, so that's the end of your 5 curly career questions, but you do have a mystery question, which was left by a previous guest, and that's an idea that I borrowed from Stephen Bartlett. So you ready for this one?
Mm-hmm.
If you met your 10-year-old self today, what would they be most impressed by? Or rather, if your 10-year-old self met you today, what would they be most impressed by? Sorry.
Oh, that's really giving me somatic chills down my body.
Oh,
Wow,
okay.
that's quite a big question.
It is a big one.
Excuse me. That's a lovely question. I think that 10-year-old would be super impressed by being being able to find a way of being myself. So the things I've done, the things the have been great, but it's more about where I am now, which is about 50 years on from there. Is that way of finding living to be yourself. And I think that would be an advice I'd give to people as well, is find ways of really, truly being your truest version of yourself.
Thank you, Andy. That is the end of your 5 curly career questions. Thank you
Oh,
so
thank you,
much for
Helen.
coming on.
It's been brilliant. Thank you.
My pleasure.